If you're sitting on a brilliant idea for a new business right now,
Oh, yeah.
well, congratulations, because you've only solved about 5% of the puzzle.
Just 5%.
Right. Today, we are looking at the other 95%.
Which is the hard part.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this, because today we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating newsletter by Ghulam Akbar.
Yeah, it's titled Starting a Business, How to Begin Small and Build with Purpose.
And the mission here, just to set the stage, it isn't to sell you on, a private jet lifestyle.
Right, no overnight riches here.
No, not at all. It's a highly practical, really grounded look at how to get off the starting block using exactly what you have right now.
Which is what people actually need.
Exactly, because the text immediately targets that universal brain chatter, that stuff that just stops us cold.
Oh, absolutely, the excuse.
Right. The voices saying things like, I don't have the time, or I have absolutely nothing to sell, or even just, I'm not clever enough to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I mean, those initial doubts, they carry a massive psychological weight.
They really do.
Because when you're balancing a demanding job,
Right.
or, you're a single parent, or you're just simply exhausted at the end of the day,
Yeah.
starting a new venture, it feels like volunteering to carry a boulder up a hill.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Right. So the instinct is to wait for this, perfect moment. When you have an abundance of free time, surplus cash,
Which never happens.
and total confidence.
Yeah.
But the source points out the real fallacy in that thinking.
Oh, Jez.
Confidence does not precede action. It's actually the byproduct of it.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. You build the confidence by doing the work, not by, waiting for it to magically arrive.
So let me stop you right there, actually, because I want to challenge that a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
It sounds great in theory, but if someone is listening to this right now while commuting to a job they're barely keeping up with.
Yeah, the daily grind.
Right. Telling them to, quote unquote, just take action feels kind of dismissive.
I can see that.
Where do they even find the raw material for this business if they feel totally unqualified? Because, we usually assume starting a business means going into a phone booth, right? Putting on this, corporate superhero suit.
Yeah, it's assumed.
And emerging with some revolutionary tech patent or something.
Well, the thing is, you do not need to invent a new universe.
Okay.
You just need to look at the house you already live in.
The house you already live in. I like that.
Yeah, the text really emphasizes starting from your current reality. A business can simply be built on a skill or a life experience you've already been navigating for years.
Right.
And the author uses these highly grounded, really practical examples, like, have you spent the last 5 years figuring out how to parent a highly challenging, neurodivergent toddler?
Wow, yeah. That's incredibly specific.
Right. But think about it. That hard-won experience, that is literally a consulting service for a new parent facing the exact same struggle.
Oh, absolutely.
Or, do you know how to navigate complex spreadsheets?
A lot of people do.
Then you can coach beginners in data analytics. Or if you teach English online to, students in China.
Right, ESOL.
Exactly. You are already an expert relative to the person who is on day one of that exact same journey.
So instead of trying to put on a completely new identity, it's more like just opening a new window in the house you already live in.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
You're just letting people see and access the skills that are literally sitting right there in your living room.
Exactly.
You're formalizing a transfer of value that, let's be honest, you're probably already doing informally for your friends or your coworkers.
Yes, and what's fascinating here is the cascading effect that opening that window has on your psychology.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So the source details this virtuous cycle that kicks in. When you take an existing skill and use it to help someone else in a formalized way.
Like actually being paid for it.
Right. You trigger a massive boost in what psychologists call self-efficacy.
Okay, I have to be honest. I hear self-efficacy, and it immediately sounds like a self-help buzzword for fake it till you make it.
I know. It sounds like that.
How does that actually work mechanically?
It is actually the exact opposite of faking it.
Really?
Yeah. Self-efficacy is the core belief in your own ability to execute a task and achieve a goal based on undeniable proof.
Undeniable proof.
Right. When you secure your first client or, sell your first product, your brain registers a tangible victory.
Ah, so it's not just positive thinking.
Exactly. You're no longer relying on, daily affirmations in the mirror, you have empirical evidence that you are capable.
That makes so much sense.
And that single piece of evidence rewires your risk tolerance.
Yeah.
You attempt a slightly bigger challenge, you succeed again.
And it just builds on itself.
The evidence compounds. The business basically becomes a self-sustaining engine for your own personal development.
Yeah, okay, that brings up a natural friction point, though.
What's that?
So you recognize you have a valuable skill, maybe teaching English or helping people budget, and your confidence is growing.
Right.
But how do you actually structure that into a real venture? Because the source takes a massive swing here.
It really does.
It explicitly states that you are not in the business of making money.
Right.
You are in the service of solving problems, and money is merely a side effect.
And that is exactly where that 5-to-95 ratio comes into play.
The puzzle from the intro.
Yes. Having a conceptual idea for a business is 5% of the equation.
Just 5.
The market assigns almost zero value to a clever idea in a vacuum.
Wow, 0 value.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
The remaining 95% is the daily grueling execution of actually solving a specific problem for a specific person.
Because customers don't care about your grand vision, do they?
Not at all. They are incredibly pragmatic. They're just asking, can you stop my toddler from throwing a tantrum in the grocery store?
Yeah, fix my problem.
Exactly. And if you execute on that effectively, the revenue follows naturally.
Okay, let me push back on this a little bit.
Okay.
Because it's a huge luxury to say, don't focus on the money.
Sure.
Especially when rent is due. If a listener's primary motivation for starting a side hustle is building financial independence.
Yeah, or paying off debt.
Right, crippling debt. How do they reconcile needing cash flow with this, philosophical advice to ignore the money?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not about pretending money doesn't matter. It's about understanding market mechanics.
Okay.
If your core operational driver is simply extracting cash from people as quickly as possible.
Like a get-rich-quick thing?
Yeah, the market sniffs that out.
Oh, definitely.
Your product quality slips, you cut corners on customer service, and the venture collapses.
People can always tell when they're just being used for cash.
Exactly. And the author provides a really sobering timeline here. It typically takes about 10 years to build a business of true, lasting value.
10 years. Wow.
10 years. A desperate need for quick cash will not sustain you through the inevitable failures of a decade-long journey.
Honestly, 10 years is a massive psychological barrier.
It is.
I mean, most people want to know their side hustle is going to replace their income by Christmas.
Right, but those 10 years are going to pass regardless of what you do.
That's a good point.
You can spend them jumping from one chaotic, failed get-rich-quick scheme to another, or you can spend them diligently building a remarkable architecture.
And the text defines a remarkable business as one where people genuinely love buying from you, right?
Yes, they actively advocate for you to their peers, and eventually people love working for you.
Which is the dream.
But you cannot sustain that level of quality for 10 years unless you possess a deep internal drive to solve a complex problem.
So the money is just fuel.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
money's the oxygen that keeps the business alive, but the problem solving is the actual heartbeat.
But surviving those 10 years, I mean, you are going to face some absolute operational nightmares.
Undeniably.
Because if you're solving a problem effectively, demand goes up.
Right.
And the text issues a massive warning here. If you get entirely consumed by the day-to-day delivery of your service, congratulations.
You haven't built a business.
Exactly. You just bought yourself another job.
And it is often a far more brutal job than the one you left.
Really? Why?
Because you are now simultaneously the stressed employee and the unforgiving boss.
Oh, man, that is so true.
The transition from working in the business...
It's like delivering the actual service.
Right. Transitioning from that to working on the business, like building systems, scaling, and recruiting, that is where most ventures break down.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because the author demystifies that breakdown by showing that even the absolute titans of industry face existential company-ending chaos.
Yes. The examples are wild.
Right. The text mentions Apple nearly facing bankruptcy and Lego almost losing its entire existence.
Lego is a perfect example of this.
Let's look at Lego for a second. In the early 2000s, they completely strayed from their core product.
Right.
They stopped focusing on the simple plastic brick and started producing theme parks, jewelry, action figures.
Bizarre television shows.
Exactly. They stopped solving their core problem, which was fostering creative play, and almost went completely bankrupt as a result.
Complete bankrupt, yeah.
They only survived by cutting all the bloat and returning to the brick.
And the mechanism behind Lego's near collapse is the exact same mechanism that threatens a one-person consulting firm.
How so?
As you scale, the temptation to stray from your core competency becomes overwhelming. You face this constant barrage of logistical problems, and the instinct is to pivot to a shiny new offering rather than, fixing the broken system.
Just distract yourself with something new.
Right. And the author's thesis here is that problems will never stop coming. You will face a baseline of daily friction, interspersed with the occasional catastrophe.
Okay, interspersed with the occasional catastrophe is a terrifying promise for a new entrepreneur.
It is, yeah. But recognizing it is actually liberating.
Liberating.
Because if you anticipate the catastrophe, you stop viewing it as a personal failure.
Right.
And you start viewing it as an engineering challenge. The universe, or, the market, is asking you to dig deeper into your own resilience.
That reframes it completely.
The greater the complexity of the problem you solve, the higher the barrier to entry for your competitors. And honestly, the deeper the satisfaction you achieve when you finally resolve it.
Okay, but the logistics of solving those complex problems usually involve hiring people.
Historically, yes.
Right. Historically, scaling meant taking on massive risk. Leasing an office, hiring a 20-person corporate team, praying you can actually make payroll.
Yeah, the old way.
But the modern toolkit has completely inverted that risk model, hasn't it? We're living in the era of the highly leveraged one-person business.
The technological leverage available today is just unprecedented. You no longer need to increase your headcount and your overhead just to handle an increase in operational complexity.
Because of AI.
Exactly. The author points specifically to the strategic use of artificial intelligence to build a quote-unquote lighter team.
Right. The source mentions using tools like ChatGPT Plus and creating custom GPTs for highly specific needs.
Yeah, acting as a marketing strategist or a tax advisor or even a health coach.
But let's be totally realistic about human behavior for a second.
Always a good idea.
With thousands of new AI tools launching constantly, the temptation to download every shiny new app is massive.
Oh, it's a huge distraction.
So how does someone avoid tool overload? Where they're just like playing with software instead of actually serving their clients?
Well, it is a severe trap. It creates the illusion of progress without producing any actual value.
Right. You feel busy, but you aren't doing anything.
Exactly. So the workflow the author suggests is strictly reverse engineered.
What does that mean?
You never start by looking at a piece of technology and asking, what can I do with this?
Okay.
You start by auditing your own workflow to identify the precise bottleneck.
Give me an example.
For example, if you spend 6 hours every Friday drafting client summaries.
Ugh, the worst.
Right. That is your bottleneck. Only then do you seek out an AI tool or build a custom GPT specifically trained on your past summaries to handle that exact task.
Oh, I see.
You treat the software like a highly specialized employee. You wouldn't hire a human without a clear job description,
That's
right?
definitely not.
So you shouldn't adopt a tool without a singular, defined purpose.
You define the friction, then you find the solvent.
Perfectly said.
But what happens when the friction isn't the software and it isn't the market? What happens when the fundamental bottleneck of the business is the actual human being running it?
Now we're getting to the hard part.
Right, because the text transitions into our internal operating systems here.
Yeah.
And it introduces a case study that is almost uncomfortably relatable.
Ooh, Cleo.
Yes, Cleo. Let me introduce you to Cleo. He is a 49-year-old professional desperately wanting to launch a side hustle.
And he knows his product.
He knows exactly what his product is. But every single week, he follows the exact same cycle. On Monday, he is fired up. He's making elaborate action plans.
We've all been there.
Right. But by Wednesday afternoon, his momentum completely evaporates.
He hits a wall.
He stops working, he feels immense guilt, he overthinks every tiny detail, and he actively avoids confronting why he is paralyzed.
This raises an important question. What is actually stopping Cleo?
Because it's not the idea.
No. He possesses the market knowledge, and he has the 5% idea. A traditional business advisor might look at Cleo and suggest, a new marketing funnel or better time tracking software.
Which wouldn't help at all.
Not at all. The author uses Cleo to demonstrate the necessity of a holistic coaching approach. A holistic coach views the entrepreneur not just as a business machine, but as a complex biological and psychological system.
Right. They aren't going to just hand him a spreadsheet.
No.
They're hunting for the root cause of the Wednesday afternoon collapse. And the text points out that the root cause might be entirely physical. Like, what if Cleo is operating on 4 hours of sleep a night?
which is so common. And the physiological reality is that chronic sleep deprivation fundamentally alters the prefrontal cortex.
That's the part of the brain that does the planning, right?
Exactly. It's responsible for executive function, planning, and assessing risk. When Cleo sits down on Wednesday evening, his compromised brain perceives the cognitive effort of writing a business plan as a literal threat to his depleted energy reserves.
Wow. So the brain is just trying to protect him.
Yes. The business isn't failing because his idea is bad. It's failing because his biology is in survival mode.
It's the equivalent of trying to drive a high-performance sports car on the highway,
Yeah.
but the emergency parking brake is pulled all the way up.
Exactly. You're just fighting yourself.
You can have the most expensive fuel in the tank and a flawless GPS map charting your course, but if the brake is locked,
You're stuck.
right, whether that brake is extreme physical exhaustion or a deeply ingrained limiting belief that you are an imposter, you are not going to move forward. You are only going to shred the tires and burn out the engine.
This is why separating your personal health from your business strategy is a fatal error for solopreneur.
Because you are the engine.
You are the engine. The author argues that getting unstuck requires turning those massive, intimidating 10-year goals into clear, manageable priorities.
Break it down.
Right.
Yeah.
A coach, or even just a brutally honest self-audit, helps you clear the fog. You fix the sleep, you dismantle the imposter syndrome, and you focus on reliable, tiny, weekly actions.
These tiny actions.
That is the only way to build sustainable momentum without setting the engine on fire.
So what does this all mean if we pull the lens back on everything we've explored today? Starting a meaningful business is not about waiting for a lightning strike of genius while you stockpile funding.
No.
It's about mining the raw materials, the specific skills, and hard-won life experiences that are already sitting in your living room. It requires a fundamental shift away from extracting quick cash toward the relentless execution of solving real problems for real people.
That's the 95%.
Exactly. It means accepting that for the next 10 years, you will face operational chaos and occasional catastrophes. But you can leverage modern tools to scale your impact without scaling your stress.
If you use them right.
Right. And most importantly, it means recognizing that the health and clarity of the human running the system is the ultimate ceiling on the business's success.
And you know, the overarching comfort in the author's message here is the permission to not have the Grandmaster Plan fully crystallized.
That is a relief.
It really is.
Yeah.
You do not need the next decade mapped out. You don't even need the next 10 steps finalized.
Just one step.
Right. The architecture of purposeful entrepreneurship requires you to identify merely your next right move. You execute that single move, you observe the result, you gather the evidence to build your self-efficacy.
Like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And then you course correct based on reality, not theory.
The next right move. That is a highly functional way to operate.
It's the only way that works.
So, we want to issue a grounded challenge to you as we wrap up this deep dive.
Okay, let's hear it.
Do not go out and incorporate an LLC today.
Please don't.
Do not draft a 50-page business plan. Do not buy a domain name at midnight that you are never going to use.
We've all done that.
We absolutely have. Instead, identify just one existing skill you possess, or one specific friction point you see someone in your life struggling with.
Just one.
Right. And spend 30 minutes this week exploring how your existing knowledge could ease their friction.
Because you already have the tools required to take that initial step. The mountain is an illusion. There is only the ground immediately in front of you.
That's a great way to put it. We spend so much time calculating the risks of starting a business. You know, the stress, the time commitment, the potential for public failure.
It's scary.
It is. But we rarely measure the invisible risk of standing perfectly still. If you let the next 10 years pass without ever opening that window in your house, you really have to ask yourself, who is the person out there whose problem never gets solved simply because you decided to keep your capabilities hidden from the world?
That's a powerful thought.
Determine your next right move. Take it. We will catch you on the next deep dive.